Edmonton's News is next. Live from Edmonton, ITV News at 10. With Gordon Steinke and Lesley MacDonald. With sports, Barry Solkowski and Bill Matheson with weather.
The fate of Edmonton's sex therapist Nasir Fakia is on hold tonight. Good evening. No verdict yet in the Nasir Fakia sexual assault trial.
The jury began its deliberations shortly after lunch, but as Susan Smitten reports, jurors did not come up with a decision before they were sequestered for the evening.
It was a day of waiting for 52-year-old Nasir Fakia. The self-styled sex therapist spent his time in the law courts building, surrounded by family and friends, as jury members discussed his fate. Today, the judge explained the legal issues in a 2-hour charge to the jury. Fakia is charged with sexual assault and buggery of a young woman who was his patient for 4 years. The woman, who was 15 at the time, testified during the month-long trial that Fakia convinced her she was a sexual deviant who needed to perform sadomasochistic sex acts with him to confront her problem. Jurors were shown a rack the woman claims she was tied to and videos that show both the patient and Fakia engaging in S&M activity. Fakia denies having sex with the woman, and he told court he believed his shame aversion therapy would cure her. The judge told jurors they must believe without a doubt that Fakia's intent in treating the woman was for sexual gratification, not therapy, in order to find him guilty. Jury members returned briefly 6 hours into their deliberation to ask for clarification on certain aspects of sexual assault. However, they didn't reach a verdict and now have been sequestered at a downtown hotel. Deliberations will start up again first thing tomorrow morning. Susan Smitten, ITV News at the law courts.
Wilson Nepoos is going to have to wait to find out if his murder conviction will be overturned. After hearing final arguments today, the Alberta Court of Appeal reserved its decision, meaning it may be weeks, even months, before we hear what happens next. In the meantime, Nepoos remains free on bail.
Edmonton is no longer the murder capital of Canada. The dubious title now belongs to Sudbury, Ontario.
According to Stats Canada, there were 762 murders in the country last year. That's up 14% from 1990. But as Gisele Bernardo reports, the increase has pushed Edmonton into 8th place.
A cabbie shot dead in an alley. Gerald Fisher was one of 20 Edmontonians killed in 1991. 6 other murders happened outside city limits. Sudbury, Ontario has the distinction of being the murder capital of Canada. Edmonton is in 8th place nationally, down from 29 murders in 1990.
I think that's good news for the city. I think certainly the police service is to be commended in their work, particularly with the Inner City Task Force on Violent Crime.
A large percentage of violent crimes happen here in the inner city. By targeting the area, the mayor's task force on safer cities has cut down on the number of assaults and attempted murders.
The need to have doors that have locks on them so that, if people aren't breaking into one another's rooms and fighting, which leads to some violent altercations. The Check Your Knives at the Door program. There's a lot of things that have been done that haven't cost a lot of money, but they do get results.
Although the murder rate is down, the mayor warns against complacency. The rate could change at any time. Gisele Bernardo, ITV News.
By the way, Victoria had the lowest murder rate with only 7 murders last year. City police have dubbed 1992 the year of the John. They're putting a lid on prostitution by going after the customers, and it appears to be working.
The women who work the streets say that business is slow because many of the Johns have been scared away. Tonight in an ITV News Extra, Pat Kroskoff tells us about 2 local prostitutes and a man trying to help them and others stay off the streets.
It may be the year of the John, but the night still belongs to the hookers. Dozens work the streets, earning quick but never easy cash. Each has her own story, her own reasons for being here. Nicole is 28 years old.
I could get beat up, I could get stabbed.
She's been selling her body for 7 years.
It was easier to come on the street and make money than it was to work at a job for $5 an hour. It just seemed quicker.
But Nicole says business is slow lately, only a few dates a night. She feels the city's efforts to crack down on prostitution by targeting Johns may be working for now.
That's going to work for a while, but it's not a solution.
Is there a solution?
No.
Brad Medill works with the Crossroads Outreach Program, trying to get hookers off the street and back on track. He feels many prostitutes are asking for help.
That asking doesn't necessarily have to be an overt opening of the mouth, movement of the lips. I mean, you see signs and signals and that sort of thing, and you may pursue an issue based on that. And you're successful sometimes, and you're not so successful other times.
16-year-old Trish successfully walked away from prostitution with help from Catholic Social Services. She says the addiction to drugs and money is the toughest part of quitting.
You have to really, really, really want it, because it's really difficult. I still have problems, and I've been off for a month and a half now.
This is Trish's second try at turning things around, and she says too many bad dates have scared her straight for good.
You don't know if you're going to see the next morning. You don't even know if a guy comes, picks you up on that corner, if you're going to return to that corner ever.
Trish is going back to high school to get her diploma. Nicole also has plans to get off the street. By day, she's taking classes at Grant MacEwan College. But for too many others, there are fewer options and even less hope, and their only future is a dead end on the streets. Pat Kroskoff, ITV News.
Police say about 80 prostitutes are working in the city, and they claim that at least a dozen could be infected with the HIV virus.
Still ahead, a controversial anti-smoking proposal flares up in Edmonton.
Plus, rocker John Mellencamp lights up the Coliseum. And what's that smell in your water? We'll have the details in a moment.
You're watching ITV News. Coming up, Perry Solkowski with sports and Bill Matheson with weather.
Well, we have one of the most interesting weather maps the world has ever seen for you tonight. We have Arctic air, we have maritime air, we have tropical air, and those things could breed tornadoes, but not here. All we're worried about right now is snow.
Something very big is happening at the Brick. Truckload savings of 15 to 52% on clearance merchandise. Do not pay until fall on a wide selection of appliances, televisions, VCRs, and stereos. Do not pay until next year on all home furnishings. Buy this contemporary sofa, $3.99, or buy the sofa and matching love seat for $5.99, or buy the sofa, love seat, cocktail table, 2 end tables, and 2 lamps, all 7 pieces for just $8.99. Now through this weekend at the Brick.
Your Alberta Ford and Mercury dealers have put a lot into this new Aerostar, including more room, more power, and more value. With V6 engine, automatic transmission, air conditioning, captain's chairs, a driver's side airbag, AM/FM stereo, anti-lock brakes, and deluxe XL trim. But all you have to put into it is $15,995. Then you can put just about anything you want into it. At $15,995, the Aerostar is one minivan your whole family can really get into. See your Alberta Ford and Mercury dealer for details.
Look out, because ITV's got a Thursday night lineup you won't want to miss. The Simpsons have moved to 7 o'clock, so you can catch Bart, Homer, and the rest of the Simpson clan a few hours earlier. And it doesn't stop there. At 7:30, it's TV's newest family sitcom, Step by Step. And at 8, the courtroom heats up once again with LA's hottest lawyers from the Mackenzie Brackman Law Firm. A night of television you won't want to miss. Thursday, starting at 7, right here on ITV.
You and ITV.
The debate is heating up over smokers' rights.
The city is holding public hearings into what's being called the most severe anti-butt bylaw in Canada. As Indira Naidoo reports tonight, both sides are fired up about the issue.
A simple flick and it's lit, but taking that drag is lighting up quite a controversy in the city.
Proposals before you are prudent health measures to protect all Edmontonians from the serious health hazards of environmental tobacco smoke.
It is draconian in intent and force and punitive. Much of it is anti-business, Most of it is anti-people.
A fierce battle of words. Edmontonians are blowing off steam at public hearings about a proposed smoking bylaw. If implemented, the plan would stop all public smoking in Edmonton. The proposal calls for sweeping restrictions outlawing puffing in places like shopping malls and building lobbies. The proposal will also force restaurants to make half their seating areas smoke-free.
Whether they allow or ban smoking in their business should be decided by their clientele, not by some holier-than-thou interest group.
While some city businessmen aren't happy with the plan, anti-smoking groups are applauding the proposal.
The Canadian Cancer Society is therefore asking the City of Edmonton to amend existing smoking bylaw as proposed this November. Let's make non-smoking the norm.
The city will continue to hear people out on the controversial proposal. No decision will be made on whether or not to implement the proposed bylaw until after the public hearings. The next public hearing is set for March 17th. Indira, Naidoo Harris, ITV News.
PU. It's becoming the word of choice for Edmonton water drinkers these days.
All you have to do is turn on the tap and it becomes pretty obvious that spring runoff is back. Chris Durham reports on the latest H2 odor.
Ah, yes, the sights and sounds of spring, or at least winter in spring clothing. Oh, and of course, the seasonal smell.
What does it smell like? I don't know. Skunky, I guess?
Yeah, I was taking a bath the other night, I noticed it.
What did you notice? What did it smell like?
It smelled a little moldy.
It certainly smells a lot. I'm a little bit more concerned about all the other stuff that goes into the river that we can't smell and that we can't taste.
It's almost a month ahead of schedule, but that makes no difference to the noses that know at the city's water branch.
We're getting a moderate odor this year. It's not real severe, but you should notice it in the shower. Get some warm water, you get a little sniff of a musty, straw, slightly decayed kind of odor.
Early spring runoff is the culprit. It's an annual standby. But this year, spring samplers are getting to the root.
To date, we've discovered that the small creeks between Edmonton and Drayton Valley are the source of most of the spring runoff. So what we're doing now is going into those creeks and looking at sources of these organics, the color, the odor, what might they be.
Whatever it is, its resulting stench and taste pose no danger. Continuous treatment ensures that, along with a little old-fashioned, trusty testing. The musty odor and taste will last in your tap for about as long as this keeps up. Once temperatures start to drop and melting stops, it'll all be back to normal. At least for another few weeks, anyway. Chris Durham, ITV News.
Spring runoff traditionally peaks 2 to 3 weeks before the river breaks up in Edmonton. Even if things do cool off, however, officials say the worst looks to be over.
The province is going to bail out homeowners in Peace River who suffered flood damage. The program is for those who suffered damage not normally covered by insurance. The government will pay 80% of the cost of replacing carpets, flooring, drywall, and major appliances, but there is a $1,000 deductible.
Edmonton's mayor wants the province to scrap its plan for a new electoral map. Jan Reimer appeared at the hearings of the Electoral Boundaries Commission today. She objects to the plan to combine rural and urban ridings. Mayor Reimer believes city voters can only get fair representation if the province creates whole new urban ridings. She says with the current plan, Edmontonians will still be underrepresented and will have to share their MLAs with rural areas.
I think they've really created a mess here, and there's going to take some political will to straighten it out.
A new electoral map is expected before